things like Miles Jack to the Eagles. I can't. Yeah,
two of them. They got Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham. Two linebacker signings.
I love both of them. Fascinating linebacker room there. We'll talk about that in a second. Justin Houston goes to the Carolina Panthers, and N'Keal Harry, former first-rounder, goes to the Minnesota Vikings. Let's talk Eagles and their linebacker room and your – I don't know how many times you've used this Miles Jack take, but go ahead. You mentioned it off air. Bring it to the show.
I'm not bringing any take.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that this means a whole lot. Like everyone sort of this is the kind of they're two relatively big name signings. So I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, they don't have any faith in Nakobe Dean or whatever. Like, oh, the signals a change or blah, blah, blah. This is just the Eagles doing what the Eagles do, which is in August adding a couple of veteran depth players to a team just to make sure that things don't spiral out of control. Like, remember last year when they double dipped and signed a couple of defensive tackles, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh? It's like, did that mean that they had no faith in Jordan Davis, or that Jordan Davis was getting hurt or whatever?
Those are different. Don't misconstrue that. They did sign those guys because Jordan Davis was hurt and then playing hurt and ineffective, and they needed a little security there at defensive tackle.
Yeah, but it's just contingency. Like, they reached a point pretty quickly where everybody was back healthy and they just had these two guys taking up some snaps. Like Linval Joseph, last year in his 900 pounds or whatever he weighed, I'd love to have gotten an official number on that, by the way, because he was making Jordan Davis look small.
We need to talk to the Eagles briefly here.
My point being, it's insurance, it's depth, it's contingency. I don't know that it's an awful lot more than that.
Yeah, I mean, Nakobe Dean is one player. They also have Nicholas Morrow on the team, slated for some kind of snaps. Mm-hmm. The idea of bringing Miles Jack and Zach Cunningham in, not a bad idea. But again, the names are big. Zach Cunningham's a big name to me. It might not be a big name to the average NFL fan. I've always been a huge fan of Zach Cunningham's game, but you pretty much knew what you were getting with Zach Cunningham. Before he got hurt last year, he had 220 snaps last year with the Titans. He was one of the better run defenders in the NFL for the first 5 years of his career. I loved watching him at Vanderbilt. He carried it to the NFL. Really, really good at shedding blocks and just making plays in the run game. The problem with him is he was like the prototype for a long, rangy-looking coverage linebacker, but never played like that. 6'3", 230, not a burner, but fast enough.
I never
zone length and all that, but just graded under 50 for under 53 in his last 3 years.
Bad in coverage. I never checked the late Dr. Eager's linebacker stuff that measures with tracking data how much these guys bite on play action essentially. But it feels like Cunningham would be like right at the top of that. That guy's going to bite a lot on play action and consequently never be anywhere near the ball when it actually arrives.
Which a lot of times is probably why he graded so well against the run.
Right.
He had a great feel in the run game. So there is still this world for the Eagles where I think Cunningham becomes an early down specialist.
Sure.
Where that's, you get him off the field in nickel and dime packages. Who knows how often they're going to play base anyway. But there could be something there. Miles Jack, another, fascinating career because he was another guy that incredible athlete. He looked like the new age type of linebacker who played running back in college at UCLA. Awesome athlete, could fly around, and starts his career. So he came out of UCLA with a great coverage grade. Mm-hmm. The first couple of years that we did grading. He starts in the NFL with an excellent coverage grade, and it's just slowly fallen downhill since about 2019. Just had some ups and downs in his last few grades. 2019 was a 45. Back up to 69 in 2020, 37 in 2021, and a 53 PFF grade last year with the Steelers.
Yeah, his career has just generally kind of fallen off a bit. And last season with the Steelers, people thought maybe that was a potential great fit for him, like a bounce-back spot, and he ends up getting benched late in the year for them, and they obviously don't bring him back. So it just hasn't kind of worked out for Miles Jack. He has, theoretically, all the skill set. He's got the speed, he's got the athleticism, he's got the size, and he's got, at some points in his NFL career, tape of all this stuff working. It's not like Zach Cunningham where he's been really good versus the run, really bad versus the pass, and it's like at some point teams just tire of that. Miles Jack has been good at everything at some point, just usually not tied together in one consistent block over the course of the season.
So to me, it looks like the Eagles are saying, could we get a run game specialist in Zach Cunningham? Could we get a coverage specialist in Myles Jack, even if that hasn't been his specialty? But maybe if you isolate those guys. This is coming off a year where they're losing the great TJ Edwards.
The great.
Right? And the guy that I love that was there last year.
Nicholas Morrow? No. Who?
Former Charger.
Kazir White.
Kazir White. I was about to say, whose name escapes me, who I love. I love Kazir White. So they did a great job, first off, developing TJ Edwards, bringing in Kazir White for a year. So now they're stitching it together at linebacker around Nakobe Dean, who does, there are some question marks there. So they're just adding some depth. Mm-hmm. It's solid, but I don't think it's, this isn't the difference between the NFC East, between them and the Cowboys, I don't think.
No.
But it's nice to bring those veterans in.
Plus, you get, running back depth.
There it is. There it is. Where does Myles Jack rank on the
depth chart?
Eagles running back depth chart? You must be torn here because you've got all of your favorite running backs.
Yeah,
through
the Eagles
history.
Are signing all of them. In this world of the way running back is being devalued, it should be pushing players into different positions. Unfortunately, Myles Jack has two options where both devalued positions. Like, do you play running back, which is getting devalued, or off the ball linebacker, which is getting devalued? Choose. He chose linebacker. I maintained at the time I thought Myles Jack was a better running back than he was a linebacker, but I don't know that would have helped him in the NFL given the way that position has gone.
Fat Cat asks in the chat, do you think Philly uses Nolan Smith as a linebacker?
So they have been with Nakobe Dean has missed some time, injured or whatever, in camp, and they've been working Nolan Smith as an off-the-ball linebacker during the time where Nakobe Dean hasn't been out there. And this is part of, by the way, these signings. Like, there's a degree to which you need bodies in the positions just during camp. Like, sometimes you'll see this. Guy's been down a couple of weeks, or a couple other players are missing, so we just sign a body. N'Keal Harry. But this happens, right? We simply need a guy taking the reps so that this whole offense functions during these weeks of practice. And then as soon as that stops, you no longer have a purpose here. Bye-bye.
This is pretty common for the sub 240-pound edge rusher, though, to be moved to linebacker.
But I don't know if that is an indication that, that's the plan, as opposed to we simply need a dude occupying that spot during these reps.
Yeah. I would cross-train Nolan Smith, not because I don't love him as an edge defender, but I think, again, as the Eagles, you're kind of afforded the luxury of so much depth that, hey, year one, Nolan Smith, when you get on the field, you're probably a designated pass rusher, and that's what you're doing. But I do like the idea of maybe cross-training a little bit at the linebacker spot and creating some versatility that I'm always looking for on the defensive side of the ball that maybe not every team taps into. But, yeah, I think that's a smart move to at least